One of the major reasons why many entrepreneurs lose their business is because of one very bad habit. On this episode, I'll be talking about that one habit and how to avoid it and how to work around building other habits that would ensure that you don't fall into the same trap. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to this channel as we aim to reach 1,000 subscribers. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode on It's Time. On this episode, I'll be talking about the number one habit that destroys entrepreneurs, especially African entrepreneurs. What am I trying to talk about? On this episode, I'll be talking about how many African entrepreneurs lack delayed gratification. I know many people who have ambitions of going into business, and usually they are motivated by other people who they perceive as successful entrepreneurs, and mainly because those people have been able to acquire flashy cars, expensive houses, and all these things that are admirable. However, I think many entrepreneurs forget that there are certain things that can kill your business. To run a business is a long-term adventure. And some of these short-term expenditure can actually ensure that you don't realize your dream. When I was at the bank, I knew people who had huge bank balances and they were admirable. But within the very first few months or years when they had those big contracts, they just started acquiring personal vehicles and expensive things, doing expensive trips abroad and things like that. And in no time, the business is gone. And sadly, the people they tried to impress found them as laughing stocks. They would end up laughing at him and saying, oh, this guy had a lot of money. He blew it all on girls, or he blew it all on buying flashy cars. The people we try to impress are eventually not impressed because we don't necessarily succeed at the business. One of the reasons why a lot of us do this is because we lack the long-term perspective of the business. We are not able to think of building the habit of retained profits. A lot of young entrepreneurs have copied this negative habit of many entrepreneurs and want to replicate the same thing when they become successful in entrepreneurship. I think a lot of the times we forget that once you are having a good season, it's possible for you to have a bad season. Just like savings, we save for bad seasons. Business is the same. It's important that we build the habit of ensuring that we make our business ready and resilient for hard times. I know a man who was so successful at his business, and because he was successful, he built a whole church for his congregation. A businessman, a church member, was successful at business and decided that he could individually finance the building of a church. I don't think anything is wrong with that if you can keep up running your business. 5 years down the line, this guy's business collapses. And people are empathetic, but I am sure that nobody really forced him to do that. All I want to say is that if there's anything you are going to spend your business resources on, that you would look back and regret that you did it, I would say it wasn't worth it. I know this man said, I used to have so much money. I even built this church building. And now look at me. I don't have the means to do that anymore. This is a common challenge and a common habit all across the African continent. And my goal is to encourage young entrepreneurs who are likely to fall prey to this habit to begin to devise or think through what you will do when you are successful. It's easier to have an idea, or it's easier to build a concept of what you will do when you don't have the resources. So on this episode, I want all the people watching this video to begin to think, what are the habits I need to build to ensure that my business lasts a lifetime? So the first recommendation is begin to think about how to ensure that you are not going to fall in this trap. Because there's this funny saying that says, you can't advise a man with money in his pocket. You can probably advise somebody who doesn't have the money yet. But when the pocket is loaded with the money, you definitely can't advise him. For this reason, we need to begin to think about what we are going to do when we have money. So this is my first recommendation. Always keep in mind that if you are successful now, if you have a lot of money now, there's a time coming where the situations will not be the same. I know it's easy to borrow money from the bank, but fact of the matter is that it's cheaper to use your own funds than to depend on a bank. It's cheaper and way more beneficial to use your own money to build your business than to use money from the bank. Secondly, tell yourself you are not going to fall in this trap and end up being somebody who relies on past glories. This is what it means. There are many people who say, I used to have this amount of money when my business was thriving. That's talking about past glories. How to avoid talking about past glories is ensuring that you don't blow your money senselessly. It's funny, we admire entrepreneurs who have personal assets. But I think that one philosophy we need to develop is to admire entrepreneurs who have business assets. It's just a shift in what we admire. I want to admire entrepreneurs who have built business assets, have built cash in the bank account. Those are the entrepreneurs I want to admire. And I recommend that we begin to shift our ideas of success from people who have acquired simple or expensive things as success. Because if that thing you have acquired is going to eventually hurt your business, then you are not successful after all. Also, if your business is not resilient to shocks, then you don't have a business. On this episode, I want us to begin to build a new philosophy, something that is not the typical way Africans value success. It's sad to meet somebody who was once successful and all of a sudden he's back to the ground. It's beautiful to see a business survive 10, 20, 30 years. Sadly, there are not that many businesses that have survived 50 years. I started this adventure trying to compile 50 companies that had survived 50 years in Ghana, and it was such a struggle. Delayed gratification was one of the big reasons why a lot of the businesses didn't survive. There are many other reasons, but this was one of the major reasons why many of the businesses didn't survive. On this episode, I want to share with you the idea that we can escape this trap. If you are inspired by this video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel.